So I wasn't tagged to do this, but I saw this tag on Leanne's channel a few months ago, and I've been wanting to do it, and I figured this is the perfect time to do it given the readathon that's going on right now. Hello everybody, my name is Danny, and welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a fun tag video for you all, and it is the Nostalgia Book Tag. I figured this would be the perfect time to do it because Violet is currently hosting the Nostalgia New Year Readathon, and I thought that was really cute, and so here I am doing it. I will link both Leanne's video and the original creator down below for you guys to check it out because that's how I discovered it. And without further ado, why don't we get to the questions? Question number 1 is, what is the oldest book from your life that you still own? And for that, I am saying My Sister the Vampire. I think this is actually book 2 in the series by Sienna Mercer. And there's probably something that I could say that's a little bit older in my life than this, but this one is really important to me. Way back in like 1st grade when I went to my first ever school book fair, this is the book that I picked out because it's about twins, and as we all know by now, I really love stories about twins, and it's really cute. It's about, I don't even remember the characters' names, Olivia and Ivy, who find out they're twins, and Olivia is a regular human and Ivy is a vampire. I apologize for the dogs barking in the background, but I'm gonna keep going. I don't think I've read this in the last like 15 years, but honestly, even if I never read it again, I still think I'm never gonna be able to get rid of this book because it holds such a special place in my heart. It's so cute, and it just brings back really cute memory from when I was a little kid. So that's my answer for the first question. The second question is, what is the first loved library book from your past? And for that, I can only think of one book, or rather one series, that I continually checked out from the library over and over again, and that is A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. And I don't remember when I first tried reading it, but I remember that the first time I read it, I read the first maybe like 2 or 3 books, and then I stopped for whatever reason. And then maybe like 8 to 10 months later, I tried again, and I got a little bit further, and then stopped. And then I got a little bit further the next time and then stopped until finally in like maybe 8th grade, I want to say, I pushed myself and I got through the entire series in one go. I think I read it in like 4 days. The books are pretty short though, so it was just to finally hit that 13th book and to read it and to know how it all ended was momentous for me as a young reader. And within the past maybe like year or 2, I've decided that I want to collect the books for myself, and so right now I only own books 1, 2, and 4, but I definitely look forward to picking them up one by one as the time goes on, and I think I'm just going to keep buying them secondhand because that just feels right for this series, so that's what I'm going to do. Question 3 is a book that was given to you, and I have a little bit of a backstory before I show you this book. And in 7th grade, I think, I had a teacher who was very adamant that every student come in every day with a book to read so that when they finished their work in class, that's what they would be doing instead of like, I don't know, drawing or messing around or whatever. And that was perfectly fine by me because by that point I was already a very avid reader until I got to the point where I finished every book that I had owned at that point, and I wasn't in the mood for a reread, and I didn't have time to go to the library. And so my older brother was like, here, I have some books, pick one and you can borrow it for a little while. And he gave me a couple options, and I decided on, you can't see because there's no dust jacket, but this is book 1 in the Ranger's Apprentice series. It is The Ruins of Gorlan, and I borrowed it for the day, and I read it because I finished my work early in class, and I fell in love from like the first page, and it's still one of my favorite series of all time. I don't know what it is about it, but I love it so much. And then when my brother outgrew the series himself, he gave me his books that he had owned, and it was 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is what he owned at that point. And if you were to look at my bookshelf, those are the ones that don't have dust jackets because I guess he threw them out or whatever. But then he would buy me the new releases every year for Christmas. And so yeah, this was a book that was given to me, and I love it so much, and I think it's almost time for a reread, because I think the last time I reread these was 2018 into 2019, so it's been a fair few years, and I want to go back to it, and I also want to read the spin-off series that I just haven't gotten around to yet. But yeah, Ranger's Apprentice by John Flanagan, such a good book, so totally check it out. Number 4 is a book that was recommended to you, and for this I'm saying Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. My friend had been trying to get me to read this literally since it came out, because they had read it when it like first was released and absolutely loved it and was like, hey, read this book. And I just kept putting it off and putting it off until I think it was like Christmas 2017. It was like right before the movie came out. They got me this copy for Christmas. I'm like, okay, well, now I have to read it. And I love it. It's so good, so cute, and I just really enjoyed it. And it's not perfect, and it's not even really a genre that I read a lot, but it's very special to me nonetheless. For number 5, you have to pick a buddy read text, and I actually didn't do any buddy reading until this past year, and so for this one I'm going to go with Eragon by Christopher Paolini, because it was the first Nostalgia Train book club pick, and therefore the first buddy read that I ever did. And it's really cute, and I don't know, I like it. The series is not like the best, but this is gonna be special to me for a really long time, because it's the book that brought the Chaos Queens together, because this was the first Nostalgia Train book club pick, and Marta, who was going to be on the live show for it, had never streamed before. I had never streamed before either, but I wasn't that worried about it. But she's like, hey, can we like stream on my channel before the like actual live stream so that I can like kind of get used to it? And we're like, yeah, okay. So it was me, her, Violet, and Crystal, and it was a really good time streaming together. And then a couple weeks later, we're like, hey, we actually all had a really good time streaming, so why don't we keep streaming together? And thus the Chaos Queens were born, and we've been streaming semi-regularly ever since. So all thanks to this book. Number 6 is a book that was introduced to you through school, and for that I'm actually going to go with a short story. I'm going to go with St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves by Karen Russell. And it's actually in this like writing textbook that I had to buy for my EN 101 class freshman year of college, and we read a bunch of short stories. Like there's a lot in here, and it was all to learn about like different mechanics of writing and all that. But something about St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves just hit different and really stuck with me throughout the years. And it was just so different from anything that I've ever read. And it was so good. And I highly recommend you read it if you haven't. It's very unique in its like idea, and also the way it's written is really good. And so, yeah, that's my pick for number 6, St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves. Number 7 is genre fiction that inspires nostalgia, and for me, the most nostalgic genre is fantasy, because I was super into it from a very young age. I'm still really super into it, and the, like, epitome of high fantasy and nostalgia for me is The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, and I actually saw the movies before I read the books, because the first movie came out in 2001, and I was 3 years old, so I don't think I saw it immediately. But like I saw it at a really young age and absolutely loved it. I loved the books when I finally got to them. I don't think I read them till like high school, but whatever. And this is the epitome of high fantasy to me, and it's what really started my love of high fantasy way back when I was a little kid. Number 8 is a literary work that inspires nostalgia, and the way the creator of this tag describes this question is a book that like showed you what literature and writing could do. And for that I have to say Stardust by Neil Gaiman. I bet you guys were wondering when I was going to mention Neil Gaiman in this video, and well, here it is. But I read this for the first time when I was like maybe like 7 or 8 years old. I don't even remember. But like I didn't fully understand what was going on, because there's a lot of stuff that happens in this really small book, but like it just opened my mind to all these like possibilities and everything, and it made me realize that like, hey, writing is really cool, and maybe it's something that I want to do, because someday I wanted to make other people feel the way that this book made me feel. And so, yeah, that's my pick for this answer. No, my pick for this question. And the last question is a spiritual text that inspires nostalgia. And for this, it's not really a spiritual text like traditionally, but it is very clearly an allegory for Christianity, and that is The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. I have all 7 books here, and these are extremely old and beat up. Like, you can see the spines are peeling off and they're all cracked and the covers are all bent, and that is because these books were my mother's first when she was a little girl, and then when she saw that as a kid I was getting really into reading, she passed them on to me, and it's just so good and has all the nostalgia for me. I was raised in the church but have since kind of stepped away from it, and despite how obvious these books are as allegories for Christianity, they just hold such a special place in my heart, and it's just amazing. I love returning to these. I try to read them like once a year, but it's probably been more like once every 2 years, and they're really good. If you haven't read them before, I highly recommend it. At least read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's a classic. They're just so good. And to tag some people in the honor of the Nostalgia Train Book Club and my Chaos Queens, I would like to tag them, Violet, Crystal, and Marta, even though I do know Marta is on a YouTube break for a couple of months. You can get to it whenever, Marta. There's no pressure. And I'd also like to tag Anne Sophie and Caitlin Ash just to get some more variety in there, because I feel like I only ever tag the Chaos Queens in these kinds of videos, but it's fine. So if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I'll see you in the next video. Bye everyone!